Please like, subscribe, and comment on our podcast. It helps the channel. Ever get that feeling? Like something's just off. Like there's stuff going on that we're not supposed to know about.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like there are secrets hiding right under our noses.
Exactly. Well, tonight, we're going deep into a conspiracy theory that really plays on that. It's the story of Dulce Base.
Dulce Base. It's one of those things, it brings together government conspiracies, aliens, weird experiments, all that creepy stuff.
Right. So before we get to the really scary parts, I think we need to start at the beginning. Like, how did this whole thing even get started?
Well, a lot of these conspiracy theories, they start with rumors, right? And that's what happened here. Back in the late 70s, this guy, Paul Bennewitz, he was an electronics expert, I guess you could say, and he started noticing some strange stuff around Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico.
Kirtland Air Force Base? What kind of strange stuff?
He said it was picking up, like, alien signals.
Wait, hold on. He thought he was talking to aliens.
Yeah, he was seeing weird lights and picking up strange electromagnetic signals that he just couldn't explain. And he got it in his head that it was all coming from aliens and that they had a secret base near this place called Dulce.
Okay, so one guy thinks he's found aliens, but it takes more than that to kick off a whole conspiracy, right?
Right. And that's where Philip Schneider comes into the picture. Now, Schneider said he was a geologist and an engineer, claimed he worked on all sorts of top-secret government projects, underground bases and things like that.
So not just some random guy. He said he actually worked on these secret projects.
Exactly. And guess what? He said one of those projects was Dulce Base.
Whoa. Hold on. He wasn't just saying it existed. He said he worked there.
That's what he said.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. So what was his story? What did he say was actually happening at Dulce Base?
His stories were pretty wild, pretty disturbing, too. He described this huge facility, I mean, enormous, going way down underground, like multiple levels deep. And the deeper you went, the creepier it got.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's break that down. What exactly was going on these different levels?
Well, the first couple of levels, he said they were like what you'd expect. Security checkpoints, places for people to live, labs, pretty standard underground base stuff. But then things took a dark turn on the lower levels. He claimed that's where they were doing these super classified experiments.
Classified experiments? Like what? What kind of experiments are we talking about here?
That's where the Dulce Base story really dives into the sci-fi horror stuff. Schneider said they were messing with genetics, doing human cloning, even trying to make human-alien hybrids.
Human-alien hybrids. Seriously, it sounds like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
Did you give any details about these hybrids? Like, what kind of creatures were they supposedly making?
Oh, yeah, he went into detail, and that's where it gets really creepy. He said he saw all sorts of things. Creatures that were part human, part reptile. Some with these crazy long skulls, and even, get this, some that looked like they were part human, part insect.
Part insect. That's just messed up. But why? I mean, why would they do that? What was the point of these experiments?
That's the big question, right? And people who believe in the Dulce Base conspiracy, they have different theories. Some say it was all about creating some kind of super species, mixing the best of humans and aliens.
Like trying to force evolution or something.
Yeah, exactly, like a twisted evolution experiment. But there are others, they think it was even more sinister. They think it was about making weapons, like creating super soldiers who could resist anything we threw at them or even do things we can't even imagine.
Now that's terrifying. So we have this secret base where they're blurring the lines between science and like straight up horror. But if it's all true, why all the secrecy? Why not just tell the world?
Well, that's the whole point of the conspiracy, right? The whole idea is that there are people in power who are keeping this a secret. And there's a few reasons why they might be doing that.
Like what? Why would they keep this under wraps?
Well, one reason could be to avoid mass panic. Imagine what would happen if everyone knew about aliens and that they're living right under our feet, maybe even experimenting on us. The government might say it's better to keep it quiet so society doesn't fall apart.
It's like that movie Men in Black.
Yeah.
Right. Keep everyone in the dark about the weird stuff.
Yeah.
But is that the only reason? Or is there something else going on, something darker?
Well, there's also the whole idea of control. If they keep Dulce Base a secret, they get to control the story. They decide what gets out, what stays hidden. It plays into this fear that maybe the government isn't always on our side.
So it's not just about protecting people, it's about protecting themselves.
Exactly. And that ties into this whole idea that we can't trust the government, which is a big part of the whole Dulce Base story. The idea that they're pulling strings, doing things they shouldn't, and manipulating everything for their own benefit.
This is getting pretty heavy. But Before we go any further, I think we need to take a closer look at Dulce Base itself. Like, what did Schneider and these other people say it actually looked like inside? What kind of horrors are we talking about here?
All right, well, we'll get into all that in just a bit. We're going to explore all the different levels of Dulce Base, each one creepier than the last. We're going to try to figure out what might really be happening down there. So this Dulce Base, it's not just some hole in the ground, right? People who believe in it, they describe it as this, like, huge complex, 7 levels deep, and each level gets weirder than the one before it.
7 levels. Sounds like something out of a video game or something. What are we talking about here? What's on each level?
Okay, so the top couple of levels, they're pretty normal. Level 1 is supposed to be all security, guards, and cameras and stuff. Level 2, that's where the people who work there live, dorms and a cafeteria and places to hang out.
So basic underground bunker stuff? I bet that's where the normalcy ends, though, right? It gets creepier the deeper you go.
Yeah, you got it. Level 3 is where things start to feel, I don't know, not quite right. It's supposed to be full of labs, like science labs. But the rumors are that they're doing experiments on animals down there, even trying to make biological weapons.
So not exactly the friendly scientists working on a cure for cancer kind of labs.
Nope, not even close. And then we get to level 4. This one really messes with people,
Yeah.
Because it's all about mind control.
Mind control. Now that's just creepy.
Right. They say they're doing experiments down there, figuring out how to control people's thoughts, their feelings, even how they act.
I mean, how would they even do that?
Well, they say they use everything, like sensory deprivation tanks, subliminal messages, hypnosis. Some people even say they have this crazy technology way beyond anything we can imagine that can directly control your brain.
Okay, I officially don't like level 4. What about level 5? What's down there?
That's where the aliens come in. Level 5, that's supposed to be where they live.
Hold on, aliens. Like actual extraterrestrials living in a base in New Mexico.
That's the story.
What kind of aliens are we talking about here? Like the little green men or something else?
Well, some people say they saw those classic gray aliens, the ones with the big heads and the big black eyes. But some also say they saw reptilian creatures, like lizard people.
Okay, lizard people, that's a whole other conspiracy theory. So humans and aliens living together in this base. But why? Are they working together or something?
That's the question, isn't it? Some people think it's like a partnership. The government gives the aliens a place to stay and stuff to work with, and the aliens give us their technology.
So, like a trade deal. We give them a place to crash, and they give us their high-tech gadgets.
Yeah, kind of like that. But then there are others, they think it's not so friendly. They think the government is basically controlled by these aliens, letting them do their experiments, and maybe even calling the shots on some things, just so we can get our hands on their tech.
So not a partnership, more like we're their puppets.
Yeah, like that. And that plays into this fear that maybe we're not really in charge anymore, that someone else is pulling the strings.
This is all getting a little too much for me. But there's still more, right? Level 6. What's the story with that one?
Level 6 is the one that really freaks people out. They call it Nightmare Hall. That should tell you everything you need to know.
Nightmare Hall. I'm almost afraid to ask, but what's supposed to be going on down there?
Just imagine the worst things you can think of, and then multiply that by 10. People who claim to have seen it, they describe these creatures, these hybrids, they're like nothing you've ever seen. They say they're like stitched together from different animals, even humans, like some kind of mad scientist's lab gone wrong.
It sounds like something out of a horror movie, honestly. But what would be the point of creating these things?
That's the scary part, right? Some people say it's just about seeing how far they can push things, how much they can change living beings. But others, they think they're making these creatures for a reason, like to be weapons or soldiers or maybe even slaves for these aliens.
It's too horrible to think about. But there's one more level, right? Level 7. What's at the bottom of this whole thing?
Level 7 is, well, it's a mystery. Nobody really knows what's down there. They say it's super guarded, like nobody goes in or out. Some people think it's a storage area, full of alien technology or data from their experiments. But others, they say it's something much weirder, like a portal.
A portal? Like to another world or something?
That's what some people believe, yeah. A gateway to somewhere else, another dimension, maybe even the aliens' home planet.
Okay, now we're really getting into sci-fi territory. But with all this secrecy, all these crazy stories, is there even any truth to any of this? Or is this whole Dulce Base thing just made up?
That's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to look at the evidence, if there is any, and see if there's any reason to believe any of this is real, or if it's all just a bunch of scary stories.
All right, so we spent a lot of time talking about Dulce Base, all those different levels, the experiments, the aliens. It's a wild story. But I think it's time for a reality check. Do we have any reason to believe any of this is real? Is there actually any evidence for Dulce Base? Or is it all just, a bunch of stories?
Yeah, that's the question, right? A lot of people want to know the answer, and it's a question that's been around for a long time. Honestly, the more you dig into this whole thing, the harder it is to find anything you could call real proof.
But what about all those people who say they saw it? We talked about Paul Bennewitz and Philip Schneider. They said they actually saw a Dulce Base, even interacted with it. Doesn't that count for something?
Well, you gotta be careful with eyewitness accounts. People's memories can be fuzzy. They can see things that aren't really there, especially if they're already looking for something specific. And like in Benewitz's case, some people think he wasn't, totally stable mentally. Maybe he was just seeing things because he was paranoid.
Are you saying they were lying, making all this stuff up?
Not necessarily. They might have believed what they saw, but maybe they were just misinterpreting things, seeing normal stuff and thinking it was something more because of what they already believed.
Okay, so maybe the eyewitness accounts aren't that strong? But what about physical evidence? Has anyone ever found anything like pictures, documents, anything that proves Dulce Base is a real place?
There have been rumors, yeah. People have claimed to have leaked documents and things like that, but nothing's ever been confirmed. No blueprints, no satellite photos, no objects that we can say for sure came from a secret base in Dulce.
So basically we have a lot of talk and not a lot to show for it. What do skeptics say about all the weird stuff people report seeing around Dulce? Like the lights in the sky, the helicopters, the cattle mutilations, all that.
They usually have pretty normal explanations for that stuff. Like the lights could be airplanes, weather balloons, things like that. Maybe even hoaxes. The helicopters, they're probably just military. There are a lot of bases in that area anyway.
What about the cattle mutilations? Those are pretty hard to explain away, especially with all the talk about aliens.
Yeah, but even those, as creepy as they are, they can often be explained by natural things. Like predators, diseases, even just the way bodies decompose, they can make things look really weird and messed up. And sometimes they've even found out that people were doing it, like cults or just people being cruel.
So for everything weird, there's a normal explanation. But even if we don't have hard proof, why do people keep talking about Dulce Base? Why does this story stick around, even if it's probably not true?
I think it's because deep down, a lot of people feel like something's wrong. We're bombarded with information all the time, and it's hard to know what's real, what to trust. So stories like Dulce Base, with all the conspiracy and the aliens and the secrets, they kind of give us an explanation. They make us feel like maybe we understand what's really going on.
It's like we're looking for something exciting, something beyond our everyday lives.
Exactly. And the fact that the government says it's not real, well, that just makes people believe it even more, because then it feels like they're hiding something, right? Like they're lying to us.
It feeds into that whole us versus them thing. The idea that the people in power are keeping secrets from us, that they're not on our side.
Yeah, exactly. And let's be honest, the government has kept secrets before, especially about military stuff and spies and things like that. So it's not that hard to believe they might be keeping secrets about aliens too, right?
So maybe Dulce Base is more about our fears than about actual facts. It's a way of dealing with all the uncertainty in the world, all the things we don't understand.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's a way of exploring those fears, of telling stories about them and trying to make sense of it all. And it makes us feel like we're doing something, like we're not just sitting back and letting things happen. We're trying to figure out the truth, even if we never actually find it.
So is Dulce Base real? We may never know for sure. We've looked at the evidence, the claims, the arguments, but I think the bigger point is that stories like this, whether they're true or not, they make us think. They make us question what we believe, what we're told. And they remind us to stay curious, to keep looking for answers, even if those answers are scary or weird or hard to find.
And who knows, maybe that curiosity will lead us to something amazing someday, even if it's not about aliens and secret bases.
Well, that's it for our deep dive into the Dulce Base mystery. What do you think? Is there something to it, or is it all just a story? We want to hear from you. Leave a comment, tell us your thoughts. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next deep dive into the strange and unknown. Thanks for listening.